Good evening, everyone. Today we'll be learning about DevECO Studio and how we can use it. So I think already the link for the DevECO Studio installation and identity verification is already pinged in Discord. So whoever has not yet done it, please make sure you do it at the earliest, because from now on it will be a must for you to understand any of the concepts that we'll be talking about in the following trainings and even in today's training. Okay, so today I'll be briefly explaining how you can do that and about the various features that we'll be having, that the DevECO Studio will be actually having, which will make the development phase quite easier. So today's session will be on presentation mode. So today's session will be basically about DevECO Studio, the IDE for HarmonyOS, followed by how we can build the development environment for HarmonyOS, after which we can learn about the application fundamentals that we need to know, and also about HarmonyOS release pipeline, as in how the applications can be released into App Gallery. That is where all the applications that developers develop will be present. Okay. And after that, we'll have a hands-on session to know more about the IDE that we're going to use, that is DevECO. So let's begin this training. So we all know that DevECO Studio is an IDE. What exactly is an IDE? The full form of the IDE is Integrated Development Environment, that we all know. But what does it mean? It is actually a development tool which will make the developer life easier, you can say. In fact, every IDE should have three important components. That is source code editor, debugger, and a compiler. Okay. So these three elements will be present in any of the IDEs. So what are the different kinds of IDEs that you would have seen, or what are the different types of IDEs that we have currently? There are quite a lot of IDEs. Few of the more famous IDEs are NetBeans, Eclipse, Android Studio, Visual Studio Code, and IntelliJ. In fact, Android Studio is also from IntelliJ itself. So these are the famous IDEs that we have around. So for HarmonyOS application development, we will be using DevECO Studio, which is again powered by IntelliJ. It will allow us to develop applications, build template projects and libraries also. Developers can build and debug and also release applications, HarmonyOS applications, using DevECO Studio. Let's see how we can do that in the coming up slides. So before we go into that, let's see what are the different usages or advantages of using DevECO Studio. These are the 6 different uses of using DevECO Studio. First one is unified development environment for various devices. A developer can develop application which can be compatible with various devices like smartphone, tablets, TVs, wearables, etc. Okay, so the second one is multi-language code development and debugging. And that means actually it supports various languages like Java, JavaScript, HTML, XML, CSS. All these languages are supported in DevECO Studio. Then the third one is quick development of FA and PAs, that is feature abilities and particle abilities. In fact, using DevECO Studio, we'll learn about what is feature ability and particle ability in detail in the coming up slides. So for now, we'll just know the advantage of this. In fact, developer can easily create this FAs and PAs just by a click of a button. So it will make the creation of these abilities quite easier using DevECO Studio. Then the fourth one is distributed multi-device development. This basically means it allows the same code to run in multiple devices like phones, TVs, tablets. All these devices can have same code base, and they will be compatible with all these devices also, which will actually reduce the development cost and development effort. And the fifth one is multi-device emulator. DevECO Studio will provide emulators for all the different devices that I've mentioned. So that is another feature. And multi-device previewer actually will help you to see real-time changes when you do some layout changes. So you can see the preview in multiple devices, that is phone, tablets, and smart TVs. Okay. Now let's see how do we build the development environment. These are the three important steps. You need to install the software. That is, you need to install the exe file. You need to download the exe file and then install the software in your local computer. After which you need to set up the development environment. That is, you need to download the SDK and the SDK tools. After which you can create the basic application. So let's see how we can do it. So each of these three processes is detailedly explained in the HarmonyOS website. So I've just pinged the links over here. So whoever is yet to do it, please make sure you do it by today at least, so that it will be helpful. Following trainings will be helpful so that you can learn it immediately by practicing it on your own. Correct? So I'll just show you and run through this documentation so that you know exactly what to do. So the first step is downloading and installing software. You need to have these prerequisites. So once for Windows environment. So once you go to this website, you have a download button. Just click on it. It will download the exe file that you need. So once you get the exe file, double click on it, and then it will give you a dashboard like this. Then just enable the 64-bit launcher, next, and then finish it up. Finish the installation. Once that is done, go to the next step, that is setting up the development environment. So here you need to download, once you have installed the DevECO Studio, where you'll have an app icon on your launcher, or you can search it in your search bar. Okay. So when you do that, it'll ask on the initial launch, it'll ask you to download the SDK. So you can download the SDK. By default, the latest SDK will be downloaded. This will be the first dashboard. So this field will be there by default. Just go and click on start using DevECO Studio. After which you'll get this screen where you need to pinpoint the location in your local computer as to where your SDK has to be downloaded. This will be the default location. You can do it on any other drive also. Okay. Once you click on next, there will be a dashboard which will show the progress of this SDK download. Just make sure your SDK download is completely done. After that, it will give you the screen. So this is where you can create a HarmonyOS project, or you can open a project that is already existing. Since you guys will be doing it for the very first time, you will have to create a HarmonyOS project. Got it? This is the basic procedure of downloading the SDK and then going ahead. Then, yeah, so this is how you download. Yeah. Next we'll try to learn about what are the app fundamentals that you need to know before we dive into the development. So this diagrammatic view, whatever you see, is actually the logical view of the application of a HarmonyOS. Okay, so in this view, you can see there is a .app, and you can see there is a .hap, and then pack info, various terms. So .hap means it's a HarmonyOS package. That is the full form of it. And hey, sorry, I see someone actually scribbling the screen. Can you please check that? Okay.
Hey, Kanak, last time you disabled this As a host, I am not able to remove it. Can you clear this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we have .app over here. So inside .app, you have various HAP files. So these are all packages. So you will have an entry app, after which you'll have feature apps also. Entry app is a must. Okay. And feature apps can be n number. So there can be one or any number of feature apps within your application. So, and within entry app, there will be abilities like libs folder, resources, and config JSON. So each ability will actually represent the functionality of your each functionality within your application. So uh, this will be the content of your application. And also you can see there is a pack.info. This pack.info will ideally refer to the details of each and every app that you have over here. Okay. So this is how your application that you develop in DevECO Studio will actually look like. So this view you should have when you actually get into development of applications in HarmonyOS. So yeah, let's get into the details of it. And apart from this, there is one more terminology that you need to know, that is HAR, that is HarmonyOS ability resource. This is basically what it does is it cannot act independently like HAP files, but rather it'll be referenced only as a dependency of an a dependency within an application module. So it will have its own abilities, but it cannot independently act as an uh, it cannot be independently installed into the device. That is what I'm trying to say. Now let's check the HarmonyOS release pipeline, as in when developer tries to release the application into the app gallery, what happens internally. Say for example, the developer tries to release example.app file. So when user tries to download it from a device, that is a smartphone, not all the features or not all the app files need not be downloaded within the smartphone. Maybe I have a feature called dark mode or a night mode feature that needs to be that needs to work only in a smartphone and not in a smart TV. Okay. So what it does is in the pack.info, it will show the compatibility of each and every uh, feature apps or entry apps. Each and every app file, there will be device types. So you can configure it saying this particular app needs to be installed only in a smartphone. And this particular app needs to be installed in smart TV. So when user tries to download it and download the example.app into smartphone, only these three app files will get downloaded and it will be installed. It will be installed in the smartphone, and the rest of them will. And similarly, in the smart TV, whatever app files are required to be installed in smart TV, only those will get installed. So using a single app file, you can have uh, different types of installations on different devices based on their compatibility. Okay, so let's try out a hands-on session to get to know about the IDE much better. So now let's jump into the DevECO Studio. So first, let me show how do we create a project over here. File, new, and then new project. You get there are a lot of templates actually already listed in the a dashboard over here. You can see there is an empty ability JS. This is for the JavaScript, and empty ability in Java, native C++, empty ability, different kinds of templates like grid ability. It will have a view like this, what you can see above, and list tab ability. So all these different kinds of templates you can already find preloaded in the IDE. So for now, I'll just choose an empty ability. Okay, and I'll go next. Yeah, you write your project name, project type. I want it as an application. This is my package name. Then save the location. This is where you want the project to be stored. I'll select the latest API version, that is API version 5. Then I want it to be compatible with phone, tablet, and TV. Now I finish the setup. This is how my project structure will look like. Okay, this is how I create a project. Now, if I have to open an already existing project, just click open, then go to workspace. I mean, wherever you have your project kept, you can go over there. I'll select the project which I want to show it to you guys. This is a project. So this is how you can open a project. Okay, so there is already an application that is developed. So I'll just show what is the project structure, what are the different kinds of functionalities that we have over here, so that you guys get a better idea of what is exactly DevECO Studio and the various features that we have in here. So to start with, we'll start with the simplest of the features. We have various options over here. You can see file. You can go to file settings, and I'll just try to explain the very important ones. Maybe when you guys have time, you can explore the remaining ones also. The important ones as in whatever is required for the development, so that it will be useful for you guys. So you can always find the go to file settings and then find your in case you want to see the SDK location where you have downloaded the SDK. You can find it over here. File settings, system settings, and HarmonyOS settings. So this you will. It's always good to know where your SDK is present, so that I'll let you know why you will need this later on. And then SDK platforms and SDK tools you can check over here. And in case you are using any proxy for your DevECO Studio, you can find your proxy settings over here. And then editors, you can change your theme over here. I'm using a dark theme, so you guys can choose any light theme or any particular theme of your choice. Then we can go into how do we build and clean the project. To clean the project, you can do this. This will clean all the generated files that were generated during the previous build. And to build app or app file, you can do this. App in the sense, this is the whole entity of the whole project. App in the sense, you will have various app files within our application, as we saw in the one of the previous slides. So you can build each app also. Okay. So let's check. And there are tool integrations, as we checked yesterday. Check style integration. You can see over here. This is another feature with the DevECO Studio. So on the right side, if you see, there are Gradle tasks. So what are the Gradle tasks? Gradle tasks as in each, when you say task, actually a task can have number of subtasks which can actually perform a function. So all the tasks that are required for building this project will be listed over here. So you can find the different kinds of tasks over here. And this is a preview. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. What does this previewer do? Actually, it will help you to see real-time changes when you do any layout changes. Say, for example, I have my layout change, a layout that is ability main.xml. Layout files will usually be XML files. So this is my layout. So if I have to see how any changes I do here, if I want to see it over here immediately, we can do that. So let's try to do this. This is actually pointing to the username over here. Let's change it and check. Accounting. So you don't have to switch, or you don't have to run the application to see such changes. This is one good advantage. And if you want to see it for other devices like tablet and then TV, you can see it like this, and you can enable multi-device preview, which will in fact show you the preview of all these devices at a time. This is a very useful feature when you're doing a lot of UI changes. You'll find it really useful. So for now, I'll keep it single device review. And you can, and how do we use the emulator? Till now, whatever I've shown you is a preview. Now, what is an emulator? Emulator is something where you can build an application and then install the .hap file or app file into your device to see the dynamic changes also. So let's see how we can access the remote emulator. In fact, the emulator for the DevECO Studio, the emulator that we are going to use in DevECO Studio will be a remote emulator, not the local emulator. Remote emulator concept is there will be pool of emulators running on a server, and we need to log in or authenticate ourselves to access those emulators. I mean, the devices which are acting as remote emulators. Got it? So let's try to authenticate by logging into a DevECO ID. So once you have done the DevECO, your developer identity verification is done, only then you can log in over here. Okay, so I have given my credentials and it asks me to allow permission to access the DevECO Studio. So it tells me that I've already logged in. So you can see that it's already logged in. So it is asking me to sign up. So you can, once it is logged in, you can go to Tools, Device Manager. You see different kinds of devices over here. Currently, I'm using 501 version. So in 501 version, we will not have a smartphone emulator. We'll have MeetPad Pro, that is a tablet, Variable, that is a smartwatch, and a TV, that is a smart TV. Okay, so these three you can use, and then you can go ahead. We can try with, we'll go with MeetPad Pro for now because it is closest to the smartphone. So this is how you access your remote emulator once your developer identity is verified. Okay, to run any application. Now let's run the application. I have selected entry. It's already selected as entry. So this is a MeetPad Pro name. I click on the run button. So this is a business card application. So you see a UI where actually you have a business card template that is already visible. Okay. So this is how you run an application within DevECO Studio. So now let's check into the code structure that we have got. So we have sample business card, that is a project name. Within this, we have a project structure over here. So it has got .gradle folder, .idea folder. A .gradle folder is actually generated when you, this will have Gradle configuration files. When you run any, that will be helpful for you to run any Gradle tasks. Okay, so .idea folders are the configuration files related to your IDE. So when you import your project into the IDE, this folder will get generated. And please make sure that these two folders should not be committed into GitHub when you're doing a GitHub commit. So how do we avoid restricting few folders from getting committed when we are trying to do a git commit? We have a .gitignore file over here, right? So you can mention all the files that you want to ignore when you're going to do a git commit, so that those files will not get committed into the GitHub repository when you're trying to do a GitHub commit. And then we have a build folder. This will get generated. Basically, if I clean the project, the build folder will go. So that is actually a generated file. So let me generate it again. It will have the .app file, HAP files, all the files that are required to be installed into the device when you're trying to install. So you can see over here, you have a build output app release. You have this app file over here, app info JSON. This is the content of it. Let me remove this. This has just got the module type installation free, only the basic info. Actual info will be present in .app file. That is, as you have seen in the slides previously, it will have the HAP files along with the pack.info file. So HAP file is the will have the features of whatever your features or the functionalities, whatever you have developed. This will be pushed into your device. And pack info will have the description regarding entry or feature hubs. Since we have currently, in our application, we have only one module, that is entry module. So we'll have only one HAP file. In case you have multiple HAP files or multiple HAP files or module files, then you'll have multiple HAP files generated for each one of them. Okay. So yeah, let's see the pack info just to get an understanding of that. This refers to the package name, then the version number, and then the different types of modules, as in what are the different types of abilities or the HAP files that we have got. So this is the main ability, or in other words, this is the first ability that will be opened when you open that particular module. So it is compatible with phone, tablet, and TV. And these are the other or all the listed out abilities that you have within this. We have only one ability currently, so that is what is getting listed here. And distro, in the sense, this is actually for distributed configuration file related to, it will have the distributed architectures configuration file. So this module type, in the sense, you can specify if it is an entry or a feature HAP. We have mentioned it as entry, and installation free. You can put it as true or false if it is a free installation or not. And module name, you can name it as anything. We have retained the name entry itself. And delivery with install, in the sense, when your application is installed, you're checking if this entry module needs to be installed or not. Okay, you can make it as true or false based on your requirement. And API version, we have kept it to the latest, that is compatible with 5, and target is 5. Release type is release. And the different types of packages we have, that is entry currently. So module type is entry. Again, device types that are compatible, phone, tablet, and TV. And delivery with install is true. That is whatever I've told over here. That is when you are trying to install the application .app file, do you want the HAP file to be installed or not? Then the name of it is entry release rich. You can find this over you might wonder, where is this actually, where this HAP is actually located. You will be able to find it over here. entry release rich will be found in the app folder or the build folder within the entry app or the entry module over here. Okay, so this is all about the build folder and its contents, and let's check the entry module. So this is the actual or the important part of our application. So let's check the contents. Build folder will have the executables or the classes or generated files regarding this module located over here, and libs folder will have all the third-party libraries that are required to compile or build this application. In case you have any third-party library or functionalities of a third-party functionalities or third-party libraries functionalities that your code is depending upon, you can add those libs over here, and then you can and the dependency and those libs will be connected to your code through this dependency that is mentioned over here, implementation file tree. So whatever libs are whatever files are present over here in the libs folder, you can all the files that end with .jar or .har file will be linked to your code, or they will be used when the application or your entry app is getting compiled. Okay, and then you have src folder, wherein you have 3 different subfolders. So we'll go with main. That is in an overview, I can tell that a main will have all the source code that a developer will be developing, and HOS test will have all the instrumentation tests that are required. Instrumentation tests as in there will be few test cases that require emulator to run the test cases. Few test cases will require your JVM to run the test cases. So all the test cases that that have a dependency on a device or an emulator needs to be put into HOS test folder, and all the test cases that are that have the dependency upon JVM will be mentioned in test folder. Okay. So in the main folder, you can see there is Java folder, main Java. This is the folder structure. This will be the package name that you would have mentioned during the creation of the application. So you can ignore this data logic, whatever is implemented. The main part, whatever is required is the first, you can see the structure of it, how this application or the main folder structure is actually created. These are all created by the developer when he's trying to develop the application. The default ones will be my application and main ability, and then there will be a main ability slice. So if you see Java, it has got the application package name within which there is source code, and then there is resources, and then there is a config.json. So within this, if you see, there is a my application class. So this is the starting point of your module. So whenever your module is loaded and it is about to be triggered, this is where your control will come in. So on initialize will get triggered because my application is extending ability package. So this is where your first starting point of the application will reside. So once on initialize is called, it will check your config.json. The config.json is a JSON file wherein it will contain all the important details regarding your entry or your app module. So this app module is an entry app, so it will have all the important details regarding your config.json. So pack info, whatever we have seen previously, that will have the information details of all the collective information of all the app files, and config.jsons will ideally have the required details of each and every or their respective app files, you can see. Okay, so when you go into my application and when on initialize is getting called, config.json, it will come in and then it will check for entity system home. It will try to check which ability is having that. So here the main ability is having the trigger point. So it will go to main ability. So from my application, the control goes to main ability. In main ability, you have a callback called on start. So what is an ability? If you want to know more details about any application framework classes, you can just hover on top of it. Or if you want still a better understanding, you can always go to the documentation. So which will help us understand what exactly is an ability or an ability slice to understand it in depth. So let me show you how you can do it. There are two ways of going through the documentation. So first one is you should know where your SDK is located. That is why I've told you you will need to know where your SDK is located previously also. So once you go there, go to Java, the version number, then docs, default, and then you have index. Here you have a HTML page that will have the details of all the framework classes that are present in the SDK. So here you just search for ability. Then you can see the documentation of this. So what is an ability? It is actually a abstraction of functionalities that an HarmonyOS application can provide. So basically, each and every functionality you can actually develop it using in the form of abilities. Okay, so there are basically two types of abilities. One is feature ability and particle ability. Feature ability in the sense the only difference or the main difference between feature ability and particle ability is feature ability will have UI and particle ability will not have UI. So that is how you can differentiate. And different you can also classify the abilities as page ability, service abilities, and data abilities. Page ability as in you will have a UI which will ideally be represented through ability slice. So we'll know what is ability slice when we go through it from the code flow. Okay, so service ability is something that runs on the background and has no UI. So basically it is a particle ability, whatever we have discussed previously. And data ability is used for data storage or all the for database operations. You can use the data ability. So these three are the main three abilities, ability classification. Okay, so let us see what is the life cycle of ability. So before we get into that, every ability has to be listed in your config.json. So in your config.json, as you have seen already, you will have a ability section. So when you create a ability, it will get listed by default over here. So this entry is a must. So in this entry, you can see different attributes and the values for it. Okay. And yeah, the life cycle of ability. So this is the life cycle diagram of the ability. Initially, it will be in initial state, after which when on start, this is a callback that will come from the framework. So when on start is called, it will get into inactive state, after which when on active callback is called. In fact, when you go to main ability, you can check, you will get a lot of callbacks over here. Ability has a lot of callbacks. So it has got on start, on active, on stop. All these are different types of callbacks that you have got. So when on active is called, it will get into active state. And if in case any other ability comes into foreground, the ability that is currently in the foreground will go into the background, right? So that will get into inactive state. Once it is in inactive state, the ability when it is fully invisible, then it will go to on background. So once it is in background, the priority for that ability will be reduced. So in case there is any memory congestion, or if the operating system wants to uh, kill the memory or trim the memory for that particular application, the background abilities will be considered first for removing it from the RAM. Okay, so if such a scenario occurs, or if user closes the ability, then on stop will be called, and then it will get into initial state again. In case user navigates to the ability back to the same ability, then it will on foreground callback will be called, upon which again it will get into inactive state, and then this cycle will continue. Okay, this is the life cycle of ability. So let's get back to the code flow, whatever we were checking previously. So when the flow comes from my application to main ability, onStart will get called. Super.onStart will trigger the framework's onStart implementation and set main route. So the routing is actually a terminology that is used in web technologies. So be it in JavaScript, Angular, or Node.js, you would find this term very familiar. This is basically used to reroute or specify the uh, class that needs to be executed from the current class. You can say that way. So it is telling that from here you are routing it to main ability slice. Let's see what this main ability slice will do. When you get into the main ability slice, it has got its own callbacks again. So what is this main ability slice and what is this ability? You can say that ability can consist of multiple ability slices, and ability slice will help you render a UI for a particular screen. For a single UI screen, you can use a single ability slice. Okay, so that in that way you can group your code, or you can modularize your code so that your development will be much effective. So main ability slice will be extending ability slice, upon which in which actually your onStart will be the first callback that will be getting called. Here again, you'll be calling the frameworks onStart, and then you'll be calling set UI content. So set UI content will actually link your Java code to the XML or the layout files. So layout file is layout ability main. So let's see, where is this located? What is the content of it? So you can see that, let's see the preview of this. I think we have already seen it. So this is the preview. So whatever is statically, all the static values will be currently rendered here. Any dynamic values that needs to be rendered during the build time or the run time, that will be done. That those changes you can see it in the emulate. Remote emulator. Okay. So when you go to onStart, your layout file is linked over here, and then you can go ahead doing rest of the functionalities. You're initializing the list views, you're initializing the app bar, and then you have a scroll view over here. Scroll view. So you have a bottom tab. So this is a bottom tab. The contents will get rendered maybe in the runtime. Okay. Yeah. So these are the contents. I have accessed my remote device, that is my remote emulator. You can see the bottom bar, and this is my app bar, and this is the list view. All of this will get rendered from here. So this will be basically the logic of my code. So it will differ from application to application based on your requirement or your features that you're going to implement. So this is the gist of the folder structure or the application structure within the DevECO Studio. And apart from this, let's check the other folders also. So we have checked the Java folder over here. So let's check the resources. What is actually present in the resources folder? The base folder will have so resources, as in it will consist of your layout files, image files, media files, and then any internalization files for various languages or various MCC MNCs you want different configuration files, you can have it placed in this resources folder. So for easier access of resources, it is kept under a different folder. So base folder will have different classification, as in element, graphic, layout, media, profile. So element will have, you can have color.json. Color.json, in the sense you can specify all the different colors that you're going to specify, use in your application. And float, in the sense it could be any kind of float values, be it for padding of the views or margin setting or width and height of each and every view. You can name it, or you can initialize the values over here. Then string.json, all the kinds of string, all the different types of strings that you're going to use in your application, try to place it in here, and then you try to use it in your application instead of hard coding the strings in your application in your Java code. Yeah, it's always a good practice to have all your strings placed in the string.json. Okay, and graphic will have all the maybe all the, you want specific attributes or specific customizations on particular kind of views, you can do that. Or you want to have different types of background layouts for each and every view, you can you can actually do it using the files in the graphic. So you can see background.ability main2.xml. Let's see where it is actually getting used. Mhm. Okay, this is an unnecessary file, I think. It is not getting used anywhere. So let's check bottom background. Maybe this is getting used somewhere. Yeah, you can see that this is getting used over here. So there is a directional layout within which I can name my background element, and then I just use a dollar symbol, refer to the graphic folder, and within that I'm using this bottom tab background. So let's get into the, so this is the usage of the graphic folder. And then you have layout files as in all the layout files that you need within your application, say ability main. You might wonder what is dependent layout and directional layout. Dependent layout, this is actually a layout file. We'll have a different training for explanation of the components and the layout files. So for now, we'll have a simple idea of what exactly is a layout. Layout, in the sense, you can, it is actually a component wherein you can have a number of components embedded within the within this particular component. So maybe you can take the generic explanation of a layout. Within a layout, you can draw something or you can do anything, right? Render any views within a layout. That kind of that kind of explanation is actually accurate for this. So you're defining the height and width of it, and then the orientation. Dependent layout will depend on the orientation that you give over here. It can be vertical or horizontal. So based on that, your sub views or your internal child views will get rendered. Got it? So I'm sorry, I think I reversed it. Dependent layout will actually depend on the uh, on your sibling views. So it could be maybe this is the first view you have. You can actually render the second view based on this view. Okay, using using few attributes that you'll have within the dependent layout. So directional layout is the one that will help you to render the view based on the orientation. It could be either uh, vertical or horizontal. Okay, and tab.xml, these are all the different kinds of views that you can have within the components. And the media is the PNG and the JPEG files, whatever you want, you can place it in here. And in case you have vector images, you can keep it in the graphic folder. And yeah, and that is all about the Java folder or the SRC folder. So, and yeah, test folders, as I've already mentioned, these are used for instrumentation test, OHOS test, and test is for local Java unit. That will depend on the JVM. And you can see some bottom bar, you have few functionalities mentioned over here. So this run tab will actually show you all the logs, not exactly the logs, the build logs, you can say. So not the build logs, when you give any trigger the Gradle tasks or any of the Gradle Gradle commands, when if you're going to execute, you can see the flow of the task, or what are the different types of tasks that are getting executed, and you can see if it is a failure or a success over here. It will also show you the error also. And then the other important tabs are check style, as we have already checked yesterday, and terminal. This is where you can give in your Gradle commands from the command line. Maybe I want to clean the project, I can clean it from here. You can do the git. You can use, if it is a git repository, you can give the git commands also over here. Okay, and we have a previewer log that will come in when you use the previewer, and then profiler is used for um, uh, in case there are memory issues that you want to debug. Maybe then this profiler will come into picture. You need to collect a dump, a Java dump, a Java heap dump, and then you need to load it over here. And then you can analyze the dump, wherein which will list out all the variables that are collected even after garbage collection. So you can analyze why this variable is present, and why this variable is still alive even after garbage collection. And high log tab is actually used for logging, so which will actually help us in debugging the application. So in case you want logs to be listed over here, you need to make sure that you print the logs, or you need to add the logs within your application. So high log label, I'll just show you how you can add the logs. This is an example of how you write a log. Okay, currently here I'm using a high log class, and within which my log level is debug. So you need to initialize or you need to give in a high log label object as the first parameter, and then the string that you want to display. So when you run the application, when onStart is getting called, this particular log will get printed over here. So I can filter it just by adding this string over here. It will filter only the logs with the onStart, and then I can filter. I have various filters, like I can filter it based on the process, then based on the levels. If I want only the debug levels, I can filter only the certain level. I mean, if I want only the debug logs to come in, I can set it to debug. If it is info, and any other level that I want to be visible. And yeah, and these are the build logs that will be displayed over here. Okay. In case there is an ID error that occurs during any execution of any event, then you can check over here. It will show you the event flow execution. In case anything has failed, it will show that this particular event has failed, and you can go and check it in the run tab or the build tab to get the detailed explanation of that particular error. Okay. Yeah, and a few shortcuts that that will actually help you to improve your development speed, or to analyze or debug any issues. Are shortcuts within IntelliJ. So if you want to know more about, I personally use Eclipse shortcuts because I was using Eclipse before. So when I came in here, there was an option for me to import the Eclipse settings. So I've done it. You can go here, key map. I've set it to Eclipse. If you're using the default, it will be Windows. For Windows, you can refer the shortcuts over here. I have open keyboard shortcuts. You can just Google this. You'll find all the shortcuts. As in shortcuts, as in I want to find a particular file immediately. Just search for all the classes. In Eclipse, I just hold Control-Shift-R. I'll be able and type the file name. I'll be able to get it. And I want to search for all the methods. Control-G. I'll be able to find all the method names within that class. And yeah, so many other functionalities of the shortcuts that you can use to make your development speed much more better. You can actually try to access this web page by just Googling keyboard shortcuts in IntelliJ. Okay. That's all from my side.